চিৎজ্ঞানীনাহং ন চ শ্রোত্রজিহ্বে ন চ ঘ্রাণনেত্রে ন চ ভূমি ভৌমো ন তেজো ন বায়ু চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং ন চ প্রাণশঙ্কো ন বৈ পঞ্চবায়ু ন সপ্তধাতু ন পঞ্চকোশা ন পাণিপাদৌ ন চ পার্শ্ববায়ু চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং নমে বিশুরাগ নমে লোভ পাদনৈব মে নৈরমাৎসর্য ভাব ন ধর্ম ন চ অর্থ ন কামো ন মোক্ষ চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং ন পুণ্যং ন পাপং ন সুখং ন দুঃখং ন মন্ত্র ন তীর্থ ন বেদ ন যজ্ঞ অহং ভোজনং নৈব ভোজং ন ভোক্তা চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং না মৃত্যু না শঙ্কা না জাতি ভেদ পিতা নৈব মে নৈব মাতা না জন্ম না বন্ধু না মিত্রং গুরু নৈব শিষ্য চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং চিদানন্দরূপ শিবোহং শিবোহং অহং নির্বিকল্প নিরাকার वचनैव मुक्तिनामेय चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं.
So now do the Vedic chanting, requesting all to participate. আমরা এখন বেদমন্ত্র পাঠ করব, সবাই জয়েন করুন। ওম বাগ্মে মনসি প্রতিষ্ঠিতা মনঃ মে বাচি প্রতিষ্ঠিতা।
ओम वाग्मे मनोसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम्
दस्यामानिस्तः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिहा। अनेनोदितेन अहोरात्रां संदधामि। वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु मामवतु अवतु शांति शांति शांति।
ओम शांति शांति शांति।
समापयन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः।
समापयन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः।
उत्तमतः बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि। अहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्य मामा ब्रह्म निरकरो। अस्तु निरकरणं मे अस्तु।
निराकरणोऽस्तु निराकरणं मे अस्तु।
te moi santo, te moi santo.
धर्मस्ते
धर्मस्ते
सन्तो
मोहि सन्तो
मयि
ते
सन्तो
मोहि सन्तो
शांति शांति शांति
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
पूर्णमादाः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णम् उदच्यते
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णपूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
पूर्णस्य
पूर्णस्य
पूर्णमादाय
पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
अवशिष्यते
शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
शान्तिः
शान्ति
शान्तिः शान्तिः
शान्तिः
सहनो भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु
ॐ सहनो
ॐ सहनो भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु
वीर्यं करवावहै
सह वीर्यं
वीर्यं
करवावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनो अधीतमसो मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनो अदितमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
शम्बरूनः शम्भवति हरिओमः
ॐ शम्नो
ॐ शौनो
मित्रः
मित्रः शम्भुरुनः शृण्वन्ति
शं इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं विष्णुरुक्रमः
शम्नो
शौनो
इन्द्रः
इन्द्रः
बृहस्पतिः
बृहस्पतिः शौनो विष्णुरुक्रमः
नमः देवायु
नमो
नमो ब्रह्मणे नमो देवाय
दक्षं ब्रह्मसि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मोऽसि
नमोऽसि
अक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
तत्मामवतु
मामवतु वक्तारम्
भवतु मामवतु
शांति शांति शांति
शान्तिः शान्तिः
भद्रं गणेभिः शृण्वां देवा
ॐ भद्रगणेभिः शृण्वन्ति देवा
Bhadran Pashimakshviyayotraha
भद्रं
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजोत्रः
Priyangavitu Suvangshatanovihi
धियो
श्रियो
यो
यो
भूषुमांसनोभिः
Yatayu
वशीर्दहितं यदायुः
यथायु
Shanti Shanti Shanti
ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
তো প্রার্থনা ডিসকাশন আজ আমাদের আলোচনা শুরু করছি। আজকে আলোচনার স্থান হলো লন্ডন শহর। এটি সম্ভব হচ্ছে আমাদের টেকনোলজির জন্য। So today we are fortunate to have a technology in place so that I can connect you with you all from a distant place of London. So I'll be speaking English today with a bit of Bengali explanations in between. Today's topic is Vedanta, Panchadashi Tattwa of Vedanta. Vedanteর Panchadashi Tattwa. Panchadashi Tattva is very important. It's a theory of 5 different phases of realization. That's why the name is Panchadashi. Dashi is Dasha. Panchadashi is 5 different states or 5 different phases. Now, these 5 different phases are again classified into 3 different categories. I'll tell you this person who did assemble these verses is a disciple of Shankaracharya. It's actually the Vedic verses collected from different parts of the Vedas and also mix of directly from Vedic sources and from the sources of Upanishads. Basically, Panchadashi is derived from entire Rig Vedas, and little bit is there at the end, which is there in the Jajur Vedas, Krishna Jajur Vedas. So it is a mix of majority or most of the verses are from Rig Vedas and few are there from Jajur Vedas. Rig Vedas was coordinated by the sage Poila under the guidance of Angira and Vasishta. And Jajur Vedas was coordinated by 2 persons. One is Vaishampayan, the other one is Jagavalka. So Panchadashi is a theory of Vedanta, and this theory of Vedanta plays a very important role in the entire gamut of our spirituality and making of India's fundamentals of spirituality. Many important persons from India who have traveled abroad, who have traveled other places in the world, they have carried the message, which is actually basically the message of Vedanta. To name the most prominent person in this category is Swami Vivekananda. And of course, it has been clearly analyzed that the message which Lord Buddha had carried forward is also a derivative of the Panchadoshi, one aspect of Panchadoshi, which I'll connect while I discuss it. I'll connect with that. There are 3, different phases of this 5. So 5 into 3, there are 15 different segments. The first one is Vivek Panchak. The second one is Deepa Panchak. The third one is Ananda Panchak. Vivek Panchak is the theory of 5 elements of consciousness. Deepa Panchak is theory of the Atman and the concept of Atman expressed in 5 different ways. And Ananda Panchak is revealing the character or the identity of the Supreme Brahman when the Supreme Brahman plans or decides to descend on the art system or the creation in any way, in any place, anywhere, at any point of time, then it is a bliss. So it is a blissful state, which is explained in that. It was actually coined by Madhavacharya. Madhavacharya, his name was Swami Vidyarana. The moment I mention about his, identity, I think people will understand. He is actually of the contemporary, and he's a person who is actually in the same family of Sayanatharja, the person who has coined the grammar for the Vedic, literature. Shayanacharya has been, given the highest importance by some people, including Swami Vivekananda. However, Sri Aurobindo has not accepted this as a point. He has actually mentioned that what Shayanacharya has done, it is good for that period of time, and the grammatical structure that he had created to understand the Vedas can't be considered as something which is to be followed always, because it was good at his period of time for his own understanding, and it cannot be the same afterwards. So according to Sri Aurobindo, it has to change, but there are a lot of people who have followed that grammar of Shayanacharya, even when Swami Vivekananda talked about Max Muller. He said that Shayanacharya in the modern period, like this. So that means Shayanacharya has been considered as one of the pivotal personality in the spread of the Vedantic literature. However, Indian spirituality, which is drawn from the Vedas, is not confined within the boundaries of the Vedanta. Vedanta is just a segment of that, and there are other aspects of it. The classification of the Vedas into four is very important to mention here in this context, that if we want to enter into the discussion of Vedanta, we need to understand that Vedanta is actually it forms a part of our Rigvedic construct. The Rigvedic construct has got the primarily two different aspects, but again it can be further classified into, and that has been classified later um, into different segments, which we are going to mention. The first one of Rigvedic classification is the Brahman, the Supreme, non-identity and non-classified and non-structured, non-form, and time eternal, and no trace in a particular period of time, no structural identity, but has got an identity either in the form of air, void, or light. So there are three aspects of understanding, three ways to understand the Supreme. Either you consider the Supreme as someone or as something or as a some force or as some identity or some element which can be considered as something equivalent to air, like the air. What is this, similarity drawn? The similarity drawn is between these two, because an air can flow and penetrate into anywhere, any place where there is a way to penetration. So if there is a way to penetration, if there is a hole, if there is an opening, if there is a window, if there is a door, if there is some kind of opening, air can penetrate into that. The concept of Brahman is like that. If somebody has got an opening for Brahman, and that opening from Brahman, the spirit of Brahman, or the realization of Brahman, or the wisdom of the Brahman, If that is there, then some opening has to be there. This is mentioned that Dipa Panchak is something which says that you have to have your candle burnt, candle enlightened, candle has to be lighted within, and if that candle is lighted within, then it's got an invocation, and it invocates, it invites the Supreme Spirit within, and for that, your mind, your consciousness, your prana, your vital has to be open and eager to accept the spirit of the Brahman within. And if you accept that the spirit of the Brahman within, then you are the person who is going to gradually earn the realization of the Supreme Brahman. And the realization of the Supreme Brahman is not dependent upon the place, the time, the person, the conditions of the system, or the conditions prevailing across, around, or any kind of factor which is there in the world. It is irrespective of everything. Therefore, it's been said when Vidyaranya or Madhavacharya wanted to learn. He was given in Sringeri, by Shankaracharya. He was given in Sringeri, so he became the head of Shankaracharya of Sringeri monastery. And in Sringeri, what he tried to establish is that the Brahman Supreme can be realized within. So he had cultivated more about the Deepa Panchak, and Deepa Panchak, the first message was that you kindle your light of, your prana, light of your vital, and then invocate that. And it has been mentioned by Shankaracharya that when you are trying to have an understanding of or realization of the Supreme Brahman, then you should have a posture to understand that. You should have a meditative posture. So let us have it for a couple of minutes. We'll have now a small 2 minutes practice wherein we have a posture so that, in that posture, we have a mind which is totally concentrated and drawn within, and that mind only can have the aspiration to have an understanding of this Supreme Brahman. So I'm now going to do, just one pranayam, as you all know, and you have to sit erect, no leaning in the back, your feet parallel to each other, placed on the floor, your hands placed on the respective knees, and you can now breathe alternate nostril in your own pace at your own comfort, and you draw in, you hold, you draw, exhale it out through the other nostril, and again, draw in from the nostril through which you have exhaled the previous air, and now hold it and then exhale it from the first nostril. So let's do that and have a 2 minutes of silence within, trying to realize the Brahman is mentioned as air, as a void, as a light. So, as you wish, if you can consider that as a sky, as an infinite Mahabomb, you can consider that as air, for the feeling of which is there in all lives, prana shakti, or the touch of the vital. And also the most common is one that you identify the flame and focus on the flame within. So let's do that now. After the pranayam, we do the breathing normal, sit erect, eyes closed. We try to conceptualize and internalize. Try to visualize some kind of light of your choice, either at the level of your forehead or at the level of your heart. Thank you. So we proceed with our, concepts. The first is Vivek Vanchak, meaning the consciousness. So the consciousness here, what has been mentioned is, you need to have the conscious judgment about the way of life. Meaning, how do you live your life and how do you wish to live your life? What is the objective of your life and what do you want to do and make your life to be? That's very important, and this point was very clearly and with a lot of emphasis analyzed and mentioned repeatedly by Sri Ramakrishna from Dakshineshwar, India. And he had mentioned that, Ishwar Lavi Jivaner Uddesho. That means the objective function of every human being, according to him, should be to have a realization of this Brahman. God realization should be the objective of life. That's what he has mentioned. And certain processes he had mentioned also in the same breath. So therefore, the concept is when we are talking about the Atma, Anatma, Bodham. Atma, Anatma, Bodham is something which is connected or which is in a way having an identity with the Atman and something which does not have an identity with the Atman. This is the primary concept of Vedanta. Actually, Vedanta has transformed into Samvedas, which is devotion, bhakti. And when we reach to the Ananda Panchak, we'll understand that actually the culmination of Vedanta is there in Samvedas, in the Ananda Panchak, the blissful sheath of life. So now, when we are actually having this Atma, Anatma, Bodham, Atma, Anatma, Bodham, here, the sage is mentioning, Madhvacharya is mentioning, Saha Bodha Vishayat Vinya no Bodhat Sapno Bodhavat Evam Sthanotraye Opi Eka Sambit Tadavat Dinantarehe Sutta Uthitasya Suktushu Tamo Bodha Bhavitavatihi सा च अवबुद्ध विषया च अवबुद्ध्यं सा तदा तमः गतिः यमात्मः परमानन्दः परप्रेमो आस्वादं यतः मान भुवनं न भुवाः समीतिः प्रेम आत्मानि ईक्षतेः तत्प्रेमो आत्मार्थम् अन्यत्र न एवं अन्यार्थम आत्मानि ही अतः तत्परमं तेन परमानंदो आत्मानः एव च. Meaning the sage is actually leading the concepts from the empirical, the duality, the multiplicity to the unitary, the oneness, concept of oneness, and drawing bliss from the concept of oneness. So what are the phases? The first phase is you understand, meaning whether you are in the awareness or you are not in the awareness. This has been mentioned by Lord Sri Krishna to Arjuna, explained by him to Arjuna, wherein is mentioned that there are three different types of properties or gunas, three guna, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is a gunas or the collection of properties or a set of properties, set of qualities which actually begin with the truthfulness, honesty, integrity, kind of things of this kind, in this variety. Then rajas is something which comes next to this, down to this. Rajas actually has a predominance of this dynamism, meaning the energy contained in the system, energy contained in the life is also categorized as the rajas. But again, that energy is not directed in the right pathways. So the energy of the rajas, if it is directed in the right pathways of sattva, then it becomes an ideal personality. And that ideal personality is actually one, is the combination which can have a realization of the spirit of Brahman quicker, easier, better than any other combination. The other third category is a tamas. Tamas is someone who is, always lazy, always kind of delaying, always kind of, not structured, scattered, diffused, always in dualities, always in double mind, triple mind, multiple mind, doesn't have any structured mental orientation. That kind of person is actually is deluged in the society, deluged in the human form, and is unable to reach out to the boundaries of this enlightenment of this light, which leads to the light of the divine. So therefore, when does it occur? It occurs yamatamaha paramananda paraprema asmadam yataha vana bhuvahana bhuvasamiti prematmanaha ikshate. So ikshate, when you have a desire, you have a kind of, from your mental orientation, or you expect something, or you are doing the meditation, or you are doing the practice, or you are involved in that orientation of your mind, or you are involved in that kind of work in your life, which actually you think is a dedication to your God. So when you have a walk that is having a kind of or an element of all the total dedication to the God, to the Spirit of God, then what you are doing is actually you have denounced yourself from the context of this work, but you are now the doer of the work as a person who is destined to do as a kind of duty towards fulfilling that, and a duty which is endowed with you by the Spirit of God. So the Spirit of God is now in you, and the Spirit of God is actually, helping you to identify your true reality. And that reality is you are a part of this Supreme Atman, and that Supreme Atman has given you an endowment which is an Atman within. That we'll find here. Meaning, then he's saying tat premaha. When you have an understanding of that, that there is Supreme Atman, and Supreme Atman has consideration for you, and has given a kind of connect with you, and the connect you have to discover. Now, if you have to discover, then how do you have to discover? You have to discover through exercising the power of your love for God. And what is this power of your love for God? This power of love for God is having no other connection, meaning it's not a reversible process, it's not a commercial process, meaning this power of the love for God is just unidirectional. And this unidirectional is something where you don't have any expectation, where you don't have any desire, where you are free from all kind of selfish considerations, calculations, reservations of any kind, any variety. And then only you have this unfoldment of this power of God, power of this supreme reality. And that is the condition when you can now cultivate the love for God. Now, when you have or you are in a position to cultivate the love for God, then you reach out to this. So now, in the synopsis, we understand one thing. The first, you go by the process of segregation. This is what was very clearly identified by Sri Ramakrishna in a different colloquial, method. He had said, "Neti neti kore, you have tomake pete have." Neti neti meaning through the point, through the aspects of saying no to things. So, what is the neti? Meaning identifying things which you can say no to. So, when you are saying no to things, meaning you have identified things which you can say no to, meaning you're saying no to those things is actually clearing your way to understand yesism, meaning where you can have the yes mentioned to. So, when you have began with the no's, then a lot of no's, not these, not these, not this, not this, which Shankaracharya had constructed this. What Shankaracharya had said is, is Chidananda Rupaho Shivoho Aham, Shivoho Aham. And he has mentioned this manaha buddhi ahankaro chityani naham na aham na cha shrotro jive na cha bhrana netre na cha bomo na tejo na vayu chidananda rupaha shivoho aham shivoho aham. Meaning trying to understand the true identity of the self. Now, in the process of your trying to understand the true identity of the self, what you do is you are trying to disown certain things, and through the process of disowning certain things, you are now going towards owning certain things. So when you are disowning through application of the spiritual rational. This is not the empirical material rational. This is a spiritual rational. What is the spiritual rational? In the spiritual rational, it is to be understood that truth is something which is with God only. So God Himself is truth. Anything that is uttered by God is truth. Anything that is derived from God is truth. And what do we understand out of it and how do we accept? So, therefore, it's been mentioned that you accept this in totality, not in fragments, not in part of it. You understand that in totality. So this understanding of something which is derived from God and which is from God, then what you get is you get the true reality, because it is drawn from God, so it has been mentioned by God, therefore it is true. So now what happened is Vidyaranya or Madhavacharya, he was given a endowment. The endowment, he was given a practice by the Guru. And Guru had said that you have to focus on the sixth question which is there in the Prasna Upanishad. What is the sixth question? The sixth question is in the Prasna Upanishad, Kaha Asau Purusha, meaning tell about what is that about that Purusha, meaning that Param Purush, that supreme reality. What is that about that supreme reality? Then he went on to understand that Paramananda. Now, the first thing that in the process of his understanding of the Paramananda, the first thing that he's got is the Ityang Satchit Paramananda Atamaha yuktaha tatha vidham parang brahmo tayo vaikyam shruti anteshu upodishatehe vyanena parang premaha vyanena vishayas priyaha ato vane opi avyataha asu paramanandata atmanam. So here you had focused on this too. That means Dhanena Vishayam Ananda, meaning when you find that you have got a pleasure in the objects of the world, any kind of objects, if you have a pleasure, if you find a pleasure, if you find an ananda, if you find a happiness, if you find that you are very happy, you are very contented, you are satisfied with what the world has provided to you, the taste of the world, the taste of food, the vision of things, the view of nature, the ambience of your living, the condition and context of your living, everything put together, you are very happy, which is the concept of the modern civilization, that you should be very happy, you should be satisfied, and anything that in the world now you have to judge is based on your selfish or personal identification of the thing with respect to your having enjoyed that or not. If you have enjoyed that, if you have found that is good, if you have found that is bringing happiness to you, if you have found that is being desired, for fulfilling the desire of yours, if you have found that that is for providing something which you expected, which you had desired for, then you find that that is the best thing in the world. So Vedanta rejects this view. So Vedanta stands actually 180-degree opposite to the modern current view of life. The modern current view of life is a creating desire and fulfilling desire and having a blissful condition through happiness and through joy, and therefore the life becomes a elegant life and a life of a elegant personality, how where your desires are fulfilled. When you have desired for something in the world, if that is given, if that is provided, if that is available, if that is available easy to you, then everything is okay in the world. Otherwise the world is bad, God is bad, the system is bad. And therefore, so this is a dominant modern view, and this has been the view put across from in the Western civilization, particularly from Socrates. A part of Socrates' view was this. What Socrates had mentioned to Plato is that yes, you need to, you can, you do, you draw the happiness from the world, no problem. But you can also draw pleasures from the world vis-a-vis the pains from the world. So why do you draw the pleasures alone? You draw the pleasures, you draw the pains, see and experience both and find where is the difference. Then when you come to this condition, Dukheshanam Vigna Manaha Sukheshu Bigatas Priya Bitaraga Vaikshrodha Samityang Munihi Uchate. This was narrated in a summarized form by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. And this is a summary of what Vedanta is actually trying to mention. Meaning, you draw this pleasure, you draw the pains, but when you find you have achieved that condition of your consciousness that neither the happiness nor the pains, neither the pleasure nor the pains are actually in a position to touch and move you, motivate you, or distract you, and then only you are in the pathways of the Brahman. The pathways of Brahman is equi-mental condition or equi-conscious condition. It's known in the word which is given by Sri Aurobindo. It's a very nice word given by him. This is known as the equipoise. Equipoise is a very justified word wherein your mind is actually, when there is a pain, the mind is thoroughly distracted, disturbed. Any kind of major disruption, any kind of problem, any social problem, any personal problem, any problem in the family, any problem in the world, any disaster somewhere else, it creates a lot of painful thing in the mind. It's a human behavior, it's a normal human condition. That's fine. But on the other hand, if you have got the reverse, the opposite to that, there are a lot of riches, there are a lot of plenty of things, whatever you want, you get, and whatever you want to enjoy, you get, whatever you want to have, you get, you want this, properties, you get, you want the, resources, money, you get, you want the positions in the society, you get, you want the recognition from the world, you get, you want whatever you want, you desire, you get, you want specialty in the world, you get, so everything. But it's said that when your mind is untouched by the first, as also when it has attained the condition of being untouched by the next, by the second, your mind is untouched by the context of your difficulties, the pains, the problems, the sufferings, everything. And again, at the same time, it's untouched by the happiness, the pleasure, the comfort, everything. Then you have a equipoise. And this equipoise, what you have is you have that oneness. And this oneness, that's what is, it's mentioned by the sages as a kind of tribute to Lord, Lord of Lords, Lord Shiva, wherein he said, the Atman is the consecration of the Atman to the Supreme. Meaning, your empirical identity is not only that, empirical identity along with the Jivatman, which you are actually having the life by the grace of it, and that you consecrate to Lord, with. So you dedicate your the most precious element to your God. Why? Because you have developed a love for God. And the love for God is a Atma Nivedanam. Atma Nivedanam, meaning this is the ultimate concept of Samvedas. Ultimate concept, meaning when you do a consecration, and that Atma Nivedanam, when you are in a position to do, in that kind of mindset, in that kind of frame of mind, you are neither influenced by the pains nor influenced by the pleasures of life. And that's what he has mentioned. Ityang Satchit Paramananda Atmaha Yukta Tatha Vidham and Parang Brahma Tayo Vaikyam Shruti Anteshu Upadishyate. Meaning, he's mentioning, in this is Madhavacharya, is mentioning that the Supreme is such that he has got, three different aspects: Sat, Chit, Paramananda. In short, we call it Sachidananda, meaning Sat, Chit, Ananda. Actually, Ananda is Paramananda. So Sat is what? Satya. Satya is what? Lord Himself. Lord Himself is what? Truth. Anything else is a part of the truth, is a fragment of truth. So, what we see is a fragment. What we understand is a fragment. What we sense is a fragment. What we are told, we are narrated to is the fragment. What we are, presented with as a combination of all this also is a fragment. Then where is the totality? The totality is in the understanding of Brahman. And totality lies where Shankaracharya says, Parami Bhomam Nivedana. Parami Bhomam Nivedana. Meaning, when you are dedicating yourself to the absolute void doesn't contain anything. But entire creation is from the absolute void. This has been narrated by one of the sages along with the disciple. This Shetuketu came to Gautama. A great sage, Shetuketu. Shetuketu later became a great sage of Rig Vedas and also a great sage of Yajur Vedas at the same time. He has been quoted in some Vedas as well. Shetuketu came to Gautama. Gautama was a profound scholar and he lived for, it has been mentioned by in one of the footnotes in the Upanishads and also the reference of Yajur Veda that this sage Gautama and Vaishambhara, they are among those eternally surviving sages, but not for the eternity, but for a reasonable period of Chatur Vedas. So, there are Saptarshi Mandala, the sages of Saptarshi, meaning seven sages, who are eternal, meaning they don't die. They are still there. If someone wants to have an invocation and have a, in the spiritual understanding, the person can have an understanding and can have a correspondence. But then this Gautama and Vaishambhara, they had, traveled through the entire period of four Vedas, which should not be less than 1,000 years or even more. So the Gautama had a very long duration and very long. He's one of those very long-lived sages. Shetakatu came to him, wanted to understand. Could you tell me I'm going to a king's place, so there I may have to give an example of Brahman and this creation of the Brahman. Could you train me on that? Could you tell me something which is going to be an input for that? Shetakatu took, discipleship under Gautama, to understand this. Gautama said, okay, I'm sitting beneath a banyan tree, and you see, this is a very vast banyan tree, don't you find? He says, yes, I find that you're sitting beneath the, trunk root of, trunk base of the banyan tree you are sitting now. And this is a massive, huge tree, almost covers a large part of the forest. So, what do you want me to find out? He says, okay, if, you find out something which you think could be a contributing to creation of this banyan. He says, okay, I know that fruits, if I collect the fruits, I get this, because I know that fruits give birth to the next tree. Said, okay, so bring one. So he had brought one, which is a output of this banyan tree. And he said, what is that? Can you break it open to see what is there inside? I said, yes, I'm breaking it open. Now Shetakatu broke it open, and it found there are two different parts, two cotyledons in the modern parlance. And he said, oh, there are two things I find. Then the master is mentioning, okay, take out one. You find both identical, isn't it? He says, yes, both identical. So you take one. And he took one. He says, can you break it further? Vindi sin davaha? Yes, I can break it further. So then Shetakatu broke it further. That's very small. And after breaking it further, he didn't find anything. Then Gautama said, so what do you understand? You said that this fruit can lead to the formation of a tree. He says, yes, of course. It is a proven fact in the nature. So what is their actual reality within this fruit? And he finds, I don't find any reality from by using my judgment, my eyes, my vision, power of vision. I don't find anything. So what do you find in that? I find a void inside. Then Gautama says that the master says that yes, that void is the input to this entire creation. And this entire creation, whatever you find, the human society, the animals, the kingdom of plants, trees, herbs, shrubs, this kingdom of flying bats and flying objects, kingdom of the lives which are there in the sea, in the water, kingdom of the lives which are there beneath the soil, in the soil, and at the core of the earth system, and of course, something which is beyond our perception and understanding, beyond the limits of this earth system or this understanding of our world. So everything has actually emanated from that void. And so, therefore, Svetaketu, if you want to understand the ultimate reality, what you have to do is you have to have a perception of this void in your consciousness. And the moment you are one with that void in your consciousness, you find that you are now connected with this truth. That is the ultimate truth. Anything that we call as a truth is a partial truth. And that has been coined as an idea in our Vedanta that, in this spiritual understanding of India, that, the truth is something which has to be perceived through realization. Truth cannot be viewed alone, truth cannot be measured alone, cannot be counted alone, cannot be measured through dimensions alone, cannot be understood through its vibrations, its sound, its descriptions. That cannot be the truth wholesome. Whatever we understand is a truth partial to that. Therefore, it was mentioned by Vedagatu later that is mentioned Kavin Kavitam Kavinihi Kavi Riditam Padmamasam Paramatmanam. meaning what we find through our perceptive, poetic eyes, and we go beyond the perceptive, poetic eyes, and we try to understand, our try to have our understanding of the things which we have our senses to recognize. All these are very, very transient, fragmented, and we go beyond this only when we understand that we have to go beyond this. And that's why it's mentioned, Vyanena parang premaha vyanena vishaya. So when you have the aspiration to understand, to realize this void, then you have a different vyas, you have a different practice, you have a different practice in life. That's what has been mentioned by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, saying that you have to have a different practice. So this word is not for you. This war is not for your family. This is not for your anybody whom you know or anybody connected and related to you. This war is the war for a cause, and the cause has been determined, identified by the Supreme. So you are an instrument in this, fulfilling of the cause. And the moment you find that you position yourself as an instrument in fulfilling this cause, then you have your true identity, and you position yourself in the flow of the destiny. And in the flow of destiny, what you understand is you have a role to play. And this role to play is not for your gain, not for your pleasure, but this flow of this, your actions, flow of the call for actions, flow of your duties are to fulfill the objective of the divine, and that objective of the divine is not mentioned in materialistic term, is never spelled out in materialistic term. It has to be realized, it has to be understood, as you have understood the void as having the supreme truth, inputs to supreme truth in that. Therefore, the same way you have to understand that the void remains within, and that void remains within you can track only when you have non appetite for the material objects around, meaning when you have achieved vanina vishayes priha, when you have achieved this condition that you don't have a spriha or desire for this material objects, that is the condition, or that is the moment when you can go deeper inside and can try to experience this void. And ato vani upi avyataha aso paramanandata atmanaha. So, when you have that as a basis, meaning with this basis, you have to proceed. And when you proceed with this basis, you proceed towards having an understanding of the Atman. And now you try to understand what this Atman stands for. What is the identity of this Atman? And where is it connected with the Supreme? And is it the same? Or it's a kind of embodiment of the Supreme, or is a kind of fragment of the Supreme, or is a kind of partial representation of the Supreme. What you need to have an understanding of that. And for that, what should be your collective approach of the life? Then it's mentioned Satva Shuddhi of Abhishuddhitam Mayaha Avidehe Chate Matehe Mayaha Avimyaha Vashikritvaha Tang Sat Sarvignaha Ishvaraha. When you have now proceeded towards the achieving the sattva in life, and you have gone above these delusions and illusions of life, then only you are now in a position to have that. Because what now the sage is explaining, avidyaha vasausu tu anyaha tad vaichitryat anekadaha sakarana shariyangshat pragnaha tatra abhimanavan. So you create, you develop a kind of abhiman, your ego, your personal identity. So you think that you are special. You are Vishesh, you are special. You have developed yourself, you have developed a construct of your mind which identifies you as a special in the world. And that's how, the entire world civilization has actually gone for. And actually, the Western civilization has gone in favor of creating that speciality in, or propagating that speciality in that human being, human person. And that speciality was in Cogito ergo sum. This has been one of the major philosophies of the Western world, wherein Rene Descartes has mentioned that cogito, I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum. If I am not there, then how? If my thinking is not there, then where do I reside? Where do I stay? Where do I, survive? What is my identity then? Then I have to have an understanding of my thinking, meaning my thought, meaning my life, meaning my existence, meaning my material identity, meaning my external, views of life, and everything put together. What you find is, that everything put together, when we have that, we find that, your thinking about yourself positions you in the world as an entity which is relevant and truthful in the world, as a part, as a component of the world. After this, Vedanta considers that yes, it is correct. You're a part of the world. You're a part of the creation. But again, what are you actually? You're in the collective. In the bond of the collective, you are a fragment, but you are non-fragment also in the collective. This is what is the concept which Aurobindo had elaborated in the concept of his collective consciousness. In the collective consciousness, which is drawn from Rig Vedas, the Dasham Mandal, meaning 10th mandala of Rig Vedas, wherein it is mentioned this Samgachadvang, Sangbadadvang, Sangbumanam, Janutam, Deva Vage Yata Purvi, Sangjananaha Upasate, Samani Bo Akutiha, Samanaha, Samani Hridayani Boha. So this is there, wherein you have equality, fraternity, and total identity. Now, this equality, fraternity, total identity, this is within the collective. And the collective is the entire. And collective doesn't exclude anything. And that's what is mentioned. Samastihi Isha Sarvesham. Atmaha Swaha Tad Atmanang Vedanath. Tat Avyavat tu Anoihi tu Kathante Vasti Shangayaha. So when you use the besti, meaning collective many, then the description, the identity of the Vesti is what? Is a Shamasti is Shamasti Isha Sarveshan. Sarvaha Ishang Ishaha Samasti. Meaning all are there in the Shamasti, in the collective. All elements in the collective is an element drawn from the Supreme. That is what is mentioned by Jagaval. Is mentioned in that, in Isha Upanishad. In short, it's called Ishopanishad. It's a part of, Shukla Yajurveda, wherein he has mentioned Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvyam Yatkim Cha Jagatyang Jagataha Tino Taktena Bhunjita Hamagrida Kaisasi Danam. She's mentioned this Isha. This Isha is the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Lord in form as a formless. Sometimes he is in form. Devadidev Maheshwar, Lord Shiva, we consider. Sometimes he is in that form. And sometimes he is a void. He is a Shunya, Mahashunya. He doesn't have any kind of structure, no kind of identity, no time, no space, no form, no color, no kind of description, nothing. So it's a complete void. But the entire creation is a creation of this Supreme. So therefore, if you consider that in the creation you are owning of yourself, you're owning of something as your possessions, You're owning up your own dogma, your own ego, your own content, your own achievements, your own prajna, your own wisdom, your own knowledge, or any property that you have, or any kind of resources that you have, or anything, any kind of value in the world that you have. You think that it is yours. Jagavalkya identifies he was a young sage at the time when he could discover this as a kind of spirit revealed within, and he could understand that this supreme is present in everything. That's one part of the truth. The other part of the truth is the supreme himself has constructed everything. The third dimension of truth is the supreme himself has been within everything. So, every life has got the supreme content within. So, every life has got the potential to become a noble life. So, noble properties or noble life, noble elements in life can be drawn, developed, and can be made functional by every person on earth. And therefore, it's mentioned सविकल्प सविकल्पस्य लक्ष्यत्वेः लक्ष्यशः स्वत् अवस्तुतः निर्विकल्पस्य लक्ष्यत्वां न दृष्टं न च संभवीः एतः. Meaning, there are two ways to understand. One is savikalpa, the other one is a nirvikalpa. It is a condition, is a state of mind in the samadhi, in the complete state of complete tranquility. Now, when in the state of complete tranquility, like it has been mentioned that Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshinaswara had a nirvikalpa samadhi. Patanjali Maharaj has explained that. What is it meaning? Nirvikalpa samadhi is what? Nirvikalpa is vikalpa virahitam satyam. Vikalpa virahitam satyam. Now, meaning what? The alternative is not available in this frame of truth. Meaning nirvikalpa is one where you have only one. You don't have anything else. So only one. Savikalpa is one where you have something also other. So what is the difference between nirvikalpa and savikalpa? When Sri Ramakrishna was having a aspiration to have an understanding of the Supreme Mother, Goddess Kali, he was having an aspiration of the revelation of true identity of Goddess Kali. And what he found is, in the Nirvikalpa state, Kali doesn't remain. There's no form of Kali. There's no Kali, there's no Shiva, there's no water, there's no air, there's no art system, there's no person. Even he doesn't stay, he doesn't remain. Nothing remains, no relation, nothing. Everything is void. So this is nirvikalpa. What remains is the absolute truth remains in an undetermined and undefined condition. Absolute truth is in an undefined and undetermined condition. How do you understand? Meaning, when you have risen your consciousness to such a level that your consciousness is now bereft of all these impacts of this empirical identities or empirical consciousness or empirical impacts in life and in the world, then the consciousness is actually going to bring into yourself a kind of identity wherein you become a part of the body. This has been explained by Sri Ramakrishna by giving an example that he said in his own language, নুনের পুতুল সমুদ্রে গিয়েছিল মাপতে, নুনের পুতুল সমুদ্রে মাপতে গিয়ে জল মাপতে গিয়েছিল, জলের মধ্যে গিয়ে গলে গেল. That means a doll of salt, made of salt, wanted to measure the quantum of depth or quantum of water in the sea, in the ocean. So it went inside the ocean to measure the depth of the ocean, and the moment it had touched the ocean's water, it got deluged in that, and there was no coming back, and it was just identity got deluged in. Now, this is, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where the moment you are now in tune with this Supreme Divine, at that moment you don't remain actually. That's why Shankaracharya has mentioned Chit Anand Rupaho Shivaho Aham Shivaho Aham, meaning what is your true identity at that point of time? Your true identity at that point of time is that you are non-entity. You non-exist. You don't exist. You are non-entity. And as because you don't exist, nothing else exists in the world. So you don't exist. The world doesn't exist in your consciousness. You exist as a life. You exist in your life. But in your consciousness, you don't exist. In your consciousness, the world doesn't exist. In your consciousness, nothing remains. And now comes the concept of Samvedas, wherein Jaimini came forward. And Jaimini said that it's the Tattvamasi. When you find that you nothing remains, I find that he remains. So it is he and I, the Param Purush, the supreme identity of the Lord, the supreme Lord and myself. Why myself? Because the supreme Lord has given an endowment in this life. So this life is a life endowed with the Spirit of God. Now this life is a life which has got an endowment of God. And therefore, this life having an endowment of God within, therefore can have the right to have a connect with the God. Therefore, for the connect is what? The connect is that the God resides in this entire womb, entire Mahashunya, entire the in a cosmic system, entire universe, entire void. And this life is also in touch, in communion with that. Therefore, when Shankaracharya understood that this, void has to be realized now in life, and that's why he had come for, the understanding of, Dvaita, Advaita, which is, the God, non-duality, but then God again turns into duality. Meaning, at that point of God is duality, Sri Ramakrishna identifies that his mother, Lord Kali, is there, and Kali is something, she is the Brahmamai, and she is the owner of this entire creation. The entire creation is Lord, the Supreme Lord has created this and given it to the hand of Lord Kali, and Lord Kali is now managing, maintaining everything on the basis of, that's what has been narrated by Lord Sri Krishna to Arjuna, that there is a basis created in this creation. The base is your spirit of, your orientation to, and your ways of maintaining your life. If you're maintaining a satvaha, then your life is that satvaha. Then you have a continuous in touch with God. If your life has deviated from that, then your karma will determine the course of things for you. And the karma, as he says, that if it is a nishkama karma, then nishkama karma itself will bring you down to the realm of the supreme, Brahman. If you are not in a position to undertake this nishkama karma, then what will happen? Your karma, with having its own, feelings, its own impacts, its own reactions, its own reverse flow, everything you will have to experience in your life. And maybe sometimes it gets accumulated and it's so huge and so heavy, it becomes that it remains to be utilized, it remains to be experienced, it remains to be understood again for the next course of lives. Therefore, when you are very rigid in your thoughts and the rigid of your thoughts, you have created an independent empire of yourself within the mind. This was narrated by Sri Ramakrishna about a person who was there in Dakshineshwar, always by his side. His name is, he used to be called as Hasra. I'm not getting into the full name because it's not good to, reveal the entire identity. But everybody understands. Hazra was there always, wherein the God incarnate Ramakrishna was there in the temple, and he was there always, and Hazra is always there. So Hazra gets always constant company of the Lord. He's always there. But whenever somebody comes, Hazra has a special message to teach. So, somebody comes to Sri Ramakrishna and gets some message from him. The moment the person comes out, Hazra catches hold of the person and says that, okay, not that. This is more important. So he gives his own way of, instruct, his own way of advise, his own way of think. His mental construct was that. And that's why once it was mentioned, but it's like Hazda, we will never reach even, far from this, meaning the outermost boundary of the divine realization. We'll never reach. So, that's what is mentioned. Vrittayaha tu tadanim ajnataha upi atmo gocharaha smaranat anusimanyante buddhi tasya samutte. So the Vrittaya, the circle, the aura, the circle, the presence of the divine inspiration, where it's there, if you are within that, then you are totally within that. If you have got an alternative, then you are not within that Vritta. So what you have got? You have got a different Vritta. So a different Vritta will have to have the, experience the, consequences of law of karma, doctrine of karma, through the different forms of lives, different phases of lives, and different streams of lives. And after that, sometime at some life, at some point of time later in maybe some forward life, the person will have a realization that I have to be within the britya, within the sphere of God. And the sphere, what is that? Smaranat anusimayantehe buddhi tasya samuddhi tasya. Meaning you have to buddhan, you have to have your jagaran, you have to have your own awareness. That's what Vivekananda used to mention, Uttishtita Jagrata Prapta Bharana Nibodhata. It is actually from Upanishad. This verse he has used so many times in his lectures. Meaning he liked this. Meaning what? This was something which was narrated by Yama to this Nachiketa in the Kathapanishad, wherein Nachiketa was mentioned, the true spirit of true identity of the Atman, the supreme self, who is there in the core of the heart. And Yama said that you need to have a first understanding that you need to have is a prayer and a shreya. And she said, Nachiketa, anything that has got a ink, that has got an inclination, that has got any kind of impact, any kind of words, any kind of suggestions, any kind of thing drawn from God is Shreya. Anything that comes from it. That's why faith has occupied such a very strong role. Faith plays such a very strong role in the spiritual realization. Why? Because faith, if you have understood that this is what is the stream of God, then you need to develop and nurture the faith. If you don't want, never come to that. But if you want, then you undertake the faith. And the faith demands and requires your love for God, your love for divinity, and your love for the life, which is a divinely oriented life. And the divinely oriented life you should be very, very careful about before choosing, because it will not give any immediate gain. However, if somebody is true to that, if someone is true to that, if someone is oriented to that, then yavakshemaha baham maham. Then Lord says, if you do that, then I am there to take care of your, spiritual attainment, and also the, empirical, attainment in life. So, whatever is reasonable, whatever is attainable, whatever is advisable for that particular life, that's assured. Assured when the person does not have any reservation, when the person is totally, thoroughly dedicated and have the total thorough, for respect, total thorough faith, and total thorough love for God. And that's what is mentioned. So what you have to do, not paraksha, but pratyaksha. So parakshang brahma vijnanang shabdam deshika purvyakam buddhi purva kriyang yogang krishnang dahati bandhivat. So, when you are exercising your, buddhi, your intellect, that has been mentioned by, again, Yama to Nachiketa, Atavana Rathinam Vidhi, Shariram Ratham Evatuhu, Buddhi tu Sarati Vidhi, Manaha Pragraham Evachaha. Meaning, consider this human body as a chariot, and the Atman is seated within the chariot, but then this chariot is not driven under the guidance of this Atman. It is driven by the guidance of the empirical mind, and the spirit of the mind is revealed through the buddhi, the intellect of the person, and it drives the chariot of life. But it says that when you understand that the Supreme is seated within, you go back within, you understand within, you introspect, you get connect, and when you have an inspiration from within, and your vehicle of life is driven in the same way, that way, as you get inspiration from within, you get a message from your God, and you drive your life in accordance, then you find that this Atman is getting gradually, slowly revealed to you. And that's what is mentioned. So it is not paraksha, it is not pratyaksha. So this Brahma Anubhavam is not Parakshang. It is a Pratyakshang Brahma Anubhavam. Pratyakshang Brahma Anubhavam is what? You have a direct realization. You have a God realization direct. You have got a chance to have a God realization direct. What are the conditions? The conditions is total consecration to God, total acceptance of God, total faith in God. And it's mentioned is there was a conversation between two sages about the faith, about about the faith, Bishyash. The faith, it was mentioned that faith cannot be having eyes. If faith has got eyes, it's a non-faith. And this point has been very, clearly elaborated by Sri Aurobindo in very clear terms in his, there's the divine life, life divine, wherein it's been mentioned that faith is absolute. Faith cannot be having a life, having eyes. If the faith has got eyes, then it's a non-faith. When a faith with an eyes of selection, I'm having a faith, but I don't, I have a faith, but I don't like this. This is a non-faith, meaning this is non-acceptable, this is unacceptable, this is dirty, this is bad, this is something which is backward, this is something which is primordial, this is something which is, for ancient, this is not something for the modern, not for my life. So it actually erodes into the faith. So if faith has to be there, then prior to having faith, person has to, that's why Sri Ramakrishna said that, you need to examine. You need to examine day in, day out. You need to examine your master. You examine the master, you verify the master, and then only try to have faith if you want. And if you want to have faith, then the faith will draw you forward. Faith will take you to forward. Then what will happen is faith is going to take you to forward. So that's what is the final verse which has been mentioned in the Panchadashi, that you now understand when you've got a faith, when you've got love for God, when you've got a realization, having the faith on the ground and love for God, then you understand. Guahitang Brahmyan Yattat Panchakusho Vivekataha Buddhang Shakyang Tatoho Kusha Panchakang Pravivichyate. So when you have got the five sheets, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Monomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, This Panchakosha, you reach out to the Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha, you reach out to when you have an understanding of the Guhayita Brahman, meaning the Atman which is seated within the cave of your heart. And Atman seated within the cave of your heart, the moment you have a realization of the God, you experience now the blissful state. And that blissful state will have a relation, will establish a relation between you and your God. And that relation, that's why, for Arjuna was mentioned by Lord Krishna as, Bharat Rishabha. Bharat Rishabha. He said, Bharat Rishabha, meaning the best human being. Bharat was mentioned as the world, the best human being on earth. Why best human being on earth? Because he had developed the faith in the Lord, and the faith remained unshaken, and the faith in the Lord was both ways, Lord within and Lord in front. Lord within, whom he could realize, understand, take guidance from, and his consciousness was drawn from, and Lord without. Lord without is, something where, he has to dedicate his work and his duties to God. That's why he said, Shishwat Stehe Pahimam. So I want to become your disciple. You become my master. When you become my master, you guide me, therefore, in your own ways. And if I may accept you as my master, then I take and I gate the right course of life. So this is what is the condition when I draw immense of ananda, the bliss from the connection with God. This is what, in a nutshell, is mentioned by Panchadashi. We'll have discussion once again on the elaboration of the practices which is mentioned in Deepa Panchak. With this, I close here. Hey Prabhu Sachidananda Parabrahma Sanatan. The person who wants this realization, may your grace be showered on the person. We shall now have the Vedic chanting once again. Om Bhagme Manasi Pratishtita Mano Vachi Pratishtita
ॐ मे मनोऽसि प्रतिष्ठित मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठित आदिः आदिः मेधि
Yamani saha shudang mima prohasiham Teno Horatran Sangadami
अनेन अध्ययनेन अहोरात्रान् ददामि
Swami Satyang Bodhiswami
ऋक्तं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
Ramabadu Tadbhaktaramabadu
तत्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
Amabudu Bhaktaram Amabudu Bhaktaram
अवतु मामवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्
Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Tu mamangani bhakrana chakshu.
Om
Dramata balam indriyani cha sarvani. Aryam Brahma Upanishadam.
Sarvyam
Brahma Nirakuriyat Mama Brahma Nirakaro. Namastu Nirakaranamayasu. Te moi santu, te moi santu. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Purnamada Purnamidang Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnamadaya Purnamiva Avashishvate. Shanti Shanti. Sahano Bhutu Sahano Bhunaktu. Sahaviryam Karvavahui. Tejosi no aditamastu ma vidvishabhavi. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mitraha Shangburunaha Shangno Bhavati Aryo Maha. Mitraha Brihaspati Shangno Vishnu Urukramaha. Namah Devayu. Dakshang Brahmasi. Dakshang Brahma Vadishwami. Swami Satyang Vadishwami. Avadu Tadvakaramavadu
Tatmavadu Tatkaramavadu
Mama Bhutavakaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Bhadran Karni Bhishram Eva
Om Bhadram Karni Shrinodevam
Machavi Ayutra
Bhadram Pashimo Akshabhyayutraha Hiroshivam Yutuvam
Devahidangayatayo
Vashemo Vivitamyayu
Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
আমরা এখন 2 মিনিট ধ্যান করবো সবাই Now 2 minutes meditation by all of us. 2 minutes meditation. 2 minute ধ্যান Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. We're closing here. Thank you all. I'm sorry for this 16 minutes additional time. সবাই ভালো থাকুন. Wish you all the best. We'll meet again next Sunday, 5:30 Indian Standard Time in the evening. আগামী রবিবার আবার বিকেল 5:30 আমরা মিলিত হব. Thank you so much. সবাই ভালো থাকুন. Wish you all the best.